Hi. In this episode, I will walk back to the street truths, as I call it, that I came across in Moscow while I was a postdoc in the People's Friendship University in Moscow. On a holiday, a Saturday, I just walked out of my hotel room in the hotel building and decided to walk up in the Mirchinsky Street. And of course, it is a beautiful avenue road, multi-lane, and is roughly along the eastern edge of the Lenski Gori or the MGU or the Moscow University. So I was just enjoying the walk and also the pleasant morning. It is spring actually. Then I was walking up the street. I saw from a distance a bus stop, a bus shelter actually, which is a bus stop, where a gentleman, a Soviet citizen, was waiting. Well, probably for the bus, I thought, waiting for a bus. When I approached him, or the bus shelter, he said hello to me. I replied, hello, comrade. And then he just asked me, did I have speech card? I said, what is speech card? Well, he said, in English, of course, matchbox. Well, everyone smokes there, but in spite of the fact that there are lots of spaces which are banned from smoking in the open street as well as within buildings. In other words, there is a place in every building, and the basement or some common place where you can go and enjoy a smoke of a cigarette. And what people do is, I have been there, and even in the PFU Science and Engineering faculty in Postdoc, there is a building, a small hall adjacent to a toilet space. In there, you just walk in there, that will appear as if something is burning from outside, because so much of smoke will be coming out, and then once you get in there, it will be all filled with smoke. There is probably a lot of second-hand smoke you can enjoy. But of course, there is the Soviet cigarette. That is actually something comparable to our Charminar in those Charminar days, like in the 60s, very hard cigarettes. And I too used to puff off cigarettes. And this is the only place in the building you can puff off. Not the only place. This is the only place in that particular floor where you can puff off a cigarette. So that's what it is. I never carried, matches along with the cigarette. Most people don't need not carry the matches, because there will be matches left over by someone, or you can borrow it from someone else who is enjoying a smoke. So in a similar fashion, I had the cigarette, of course, but not the matches. And this gentleman was asking me if I had matches. I said I did not have. Then he just asked me, friend, where are you from? In Russian. I understood what he told. I said, yes, I am from India. Well, okay. So the next question obviously was what brought me over. I said I'm attached to the People's Friendship University, etc., as a postdoctoral fellow. This went down, and he asked me, it is a beautiful day, and so on and so forth. And, finally he asked me if I would have dollars to exchange for rubles. That is his intention. In other words, he's a money changer. He's all over the world, especially in the Eastern Europe, in India. When you get out of the airport, any airport in the old days, Even today, there are people who are willing to take your dollar or more than what you may get in the equivalent of rupees, more than what you will get in the bank. The government rate, selling or buying, whatever rate they call. Anyway, so I said, no, I don't have money. I do have, but I had only $8, okay? Around the world in $8 in that Raj Kapoor song in the Mera Naam Joker cinema. That is what reminded me then. Then he said, all right, enjoy this town, etc., etc. And I walked up. And then, that street went up, after 20 minutes of walking, I saw what is called the government estate. Government estate is something phenomenal, perhaps the only gated community that is living there in this whole town. In other words, it is not one gate, it is several gates and very separated from the street view by very tall walls. Well, of course, usually I am a very curious person. I was just wondering what was this place about. There were policemen, uniformed people at the gate. Then I had a hunch that some big boss would be living there. Can be from the army side or from the administration side. I did not know. But anyway, obviously on the street, that particular street also, there was a kiosk who was selling newspapers. And interestingly, there was no newspaper at all for sale. He had only 4 or 5 pieces of each. Then I asked, are all sold out? He said, no, people don't buy newspaper around here. They buy newspaper as a substitute for toilet paper, so-called Truth, Pravda, Isvestia. All come on only on 4 pages long only, no ads, nothing. Only talks about the front page. There will be a lot of news in the upper half on what happens in the NATO countries, and in the lower half what happens in the Soviet Union. So that is what about the newspaper. And then I think another very interesting thing on any holiday, if you walked down in the street, not in the direction of Red Square, but toward the periphery of the city, what you will find is as soon as you come across some shopping centers, you will see a huge number of people walking. Family walking as a family, walking as a individual, and these people are coming from the peripheral towns, not in Moscow. Outside of Moscow, they catch a train, a metro, or they take a bus, for that matter, and then head toward the city, and just for shopping. In other words, what I inferred was these people are attracted towards the city because this is the only place, or in the, for example, in the Red Square area, you will find a lot of shops. And these shops will always carry full loads of, the needed stuff. All kinds of material that will be needed by the families, individuals, will be available in the shopping area around the periphery of what is called the Red Square. So one day what I saw was people were walking out, after shopping toward taking subway. All of them had something like a stick, they were carrying on their shoulder. One hand at one end of the stick and the other on this piece of this one portion of the stick sitting on the shoulder. And men, women, children, all of them, most of them, let me say. Then of course my curiosity did not stop. I asked a man, what is this? Then he told me that this is actually toilet tissue. In other words, they buy a long stick-like roll of toilet tissue, take it home, and then use a hacksaw blade and cut it into appropriate sizes and store it. In other words, my inference is, even that man also said, if you get the toilet tissue, you buy it, because we don't know what is the next time you will get this many much of toilet tissue. This is the way, actually, even in the big shops, shopping malls or shopping centers or the shops, even within the heart of the Moscow, had stocked in stock. If they have bread, it will be, I'm not saying if they have bread, they will have only bread. No, essentials are always available. Okay. Now, another interesting thing about I noticed was about on April 19th. April 19th was a very interesting day. For one thing, I was planning to go to Kiev by train at night at 9 o'clock, along with Thrivikramji. And the daytime, there was a big mela, big event. In other words, this is actually something that was inaugurated during the Lenin's days. And it is actually a community cleaning of, in other words, everyone joins together to clean their space and the street in front of their living space. And it is actually, and also the public places. So, this is a huge mela-like thing. You will see a lot of people getting involved in the cleaning process. And I went to the, where did I go? To the PFU only. And in the PFU, only, not that all the students came, no, but at least 50 students and some 6 or 7 faculty turned up. We joined it together and washed the floor of the toilet, and also the, went through the, I did not go through the selection process. The concerned people in their offices, faculty offices, as well as the geology department office, they went and checked all the papers and anything that is there, and then made a selection as to the stuff that has to be stocked there and maintained there, and the waste. In other words, you don't throw the waste probably every day. So, the waste is sitting there, and then on this so-called day, and it is a very famous day all over the Soviet Union in those days. And then you clean, gather all the waste stuff and bring it down to the main street, and where there will be a dumpster and some truck will carry it away. So I was involved in the cleaning process in the geology department of the People's Friendship University. And until 12 o'clock, then Srod said, hey, Dr. Vivek, you go to the hotel. I will be there in your hotel by about 8 o'clock in the evening on our way. So you pack up everything so that we will be in our way to Kiev. Well, that was on the 19th. So I took, a bus from the Ordoshny Kutsi. Then, went up to Leninsky Prospect. From there, I just made a brisk walk to the Lomonovsky Prospect and to my hotel. And I had a lunch in the Stolovaya near the hotel, and then took rest for a while, and then packed my bag with all the needed stuff, because the plan was to stay until 29th of April, 19th to 29th. That was the plan. And of course, the travel cost and food travel and what else? Food travel and lodging will be met out of the fellowship I have. That money doesn't come to me. It is actually with the comrade Kropotsev. So, in the evening, 8 o'clock or so about, Mr. Astro came in to my hotel lobby. I took my bag and hopped into the taxi. The taxi took us through the Merchantski Prospect, again, which is where, a gentleman was asking for a speech car or a mattress. and then this car will go to via the what is called the government estate and beyond, and finally to Kievsky train station. Kievsky train station. In other words, all trains toward Kiev and further west. All trains toward Kiev and further west to Bucharest, Prague, or whatever you say, the Eastern Europe, will be originating only from that station. In fact, very interestingly, the Moscow city had something like 6 train stations. One or two going to the east, one or two going to the south, one or two going to the north, one or two going to the west. For example, Mr. Ali from Roorkee University, who was like me in the ministry hotel, he was on a trip. Even I saw him off in the lobby only of the hotel. He took a train from Moscow to Tashkent. It took 4 days to reach Tashkent. That is the distance. And of course, his fellowship did not cover the air travel within the country. No, another thing is the air travel is actually met by the UGC for us in India, for Indians. So the air travel part is actually borne by the guest country, and the internal travel, food, lodging, etc. are met by the host country. So by 9 o'clock we were in the train. The train is something like 20 coaches, and each coach has something like 36 berths. And 36 in the sense, in one coupe or one compartment, there will be 4 berths, 2 upper and 2 lower. The entire train is air conditioned and are heated depending on the season. And interestingly, there is piped in music, and our compartment was full. Actually, all the 4 passengers were there, and I was only Indian, but I met one Singh, a Punjabi gentleman, a major in the army, who was going to Kiev for some kind of a training with the Soviet army. He happened to be, now he's not the only one going for the training, he happened to be in our coach, that's all. He was part of another 20 or 30 people of major, of rank of the major in the Indian army, going ahead for the training. So the train smoothly steamed out of the station. The station is also fantastic. The station will be just something like a Madras Central in India. Like Madras Central in the sense, very tall roof, and the entire train will be within the covered area. And there are several platforms, etc., etc. And of course, the only difference between Madras Central and Kiev station will be, once the train leaves, there will be none in the platform. That's all. Okay, then there were something like 4 stops only between Kiev and Moscow, and I would imagine that though each of the 4 stops was at some kind of headquarters of a district or a region of the of the country. So finally, around 8:30, we were in Kiev. A pleasant morning in Kiev, and our travel, for example, for that matter, is actually arranged by what is called In-Tourist. In-Tourist is actually an agency of the Soviet government who is controlling, arranging, and facilitating internal travel of Soviet citizens, or those people like me who are in Soviet Union, either on business or on an educational program or whatever, coming from other countries, friendly countries of the Soviet Union. So once we reached Kiev, the next thing is to go to the hotel booked by In-Tourist. So, of course, Strode has all the details. We took a taxi and went to that hotel. And in that hotel, by about 9:30, we checked into the hotel. It was not far away from the train station anyway. And one thing about Kiev is, one thing about the hotel is something like 14 stories. I was in the 4th floor, and Strode had a room in the 10th floor. And Kiev is very much like Moscow. What is the specialty of Moscow? Moscow River is winding through the big city. It's a meandering river in Moscow. That is what you find. Moscow River is a meandering channel in the Moscow city. Whereas in Kiev, it is not a meandering river at all. There is a river called Dnieper, Dniper. That is actually a historic river because 62 miles or 60 miles north of Kiev is the well-known but well-known Chernobyl disaster location of the well-known Chernobyl meltdown of the atomic reactor. I will come back with another continuation of the story next time.